She was standing on the balcony when I came home, just standing there, holding our son against her hip, staring out at the canal like she was watching for something. The lime trees were swaying. The water was that dark, flat green it gets in the early morning, and she was just still. I called out to her. She turned slowly, and then she smiled, and I thought, I am the luckiest man who has ever lived. My name is Mak, and I need to tell you what happened to me in Phra Khanong in the year of our Lord 1851, because I have spent a long time being angry at the people who tried to warn me, and I think they deserve better than that. I was gone for almost a full year, conscripted into the Thai military at the worst possible moment. 2 months after my wife Nak told me she was pregnant with our first child. I didn't choose to leave. They came to the house with the papers, and that was that. I remember the look on her face when I told her. She didn't cry. Nak wasn't someone who cried easily. She just looked at me for a long moment, and then she said, "Come back." That was all. Come back. I fought in a war I didn't understand for a king I had never met. I got wounded somewhere near the Burmese border. A spear caught me in the thigh, and I spent 4 months in a military hospital that smelled like rot and incense. No way to send word home. No way to receive it. For an entire year, Nak had no idea if I was alive, and I had no idea what was happening to her. The boat ride home felt like it took forever. I was rowing through the Phra Khanong Canal before dawn, arms burning, and I just kept thinking about her face, her voice, the way she always left a candle burning in the window because she said it kept the dark from feeling so permanent. I saw the house from a distance, stilts on the edge of the canal, big balcony overlooking the water, lime trees pressing in close from both sides, surrounded by forest, nearest neighbor a mile away. The candle was in the window. She hadn't stopped. She came through the door before I even finished tying up the boat. Our son, a boy, I had a son, pressed against her chest. Tears streaming down her face. She was laughing and crying at the same time, and I leapt out of the boat, and I didn't even care that I hit the water up to my knees. We stood there on the bank for a long time. I held them both. I remember thinking that her skin felt very cold, but I had just come out of the water, and it was early morning, and I had been away for a year. I had 1,000 explanations. I didn't need any of them. The first few days were perfect. I know how that sounds now, but I want you to understand. They were genuinely perfect. Nak cooked all my favorite meals. She listened to every war story, every detail, never once looked bored or restless. Our son was healthy, strong. The house was clean, the lime trees were heavy with fruit, the canal was quiet. I didn't leave, didn't need to, didn't want to. Looking back, I try to remember if there were signs, things I should have caught. She never ate. I mean, I would bring food to the table and we would sit together and she would serve me and watch me eat and smile and ask questions, and I never once saw her take a bite. I told myself she was eating earlier, or she was tired, or she was just focused on the baby. The baby didn't cry, not once in 3 days. I thought he was an unusually calm child. I was proud of him. She never slept. Or she would be lying beside me when I closed my eyes and lying beside me when I opened them, but I never once saw her actually asleep. Eyes closed, yes, but there was something about the stillness that wasn't right, like the difference between a sleeping person and a person pretending to sleep. I noticed these things. I filed them away. I found reasons. That's what love does. It finds reasons. On the 4th morning, I told her I had to go to the market. The kitchen was empty. We needed food. The reaction she had, I have thought about it 1,000 times since. Her eyes went wide. She sat straight up in bed. She grabbed my arm with both hands and she said no. Just like that. loud enough to wake the baby, and the baby started screaming, the first sound I had heard him make. And Nak was looking at me with something that wasn't sadness exactly. It was closer to panic, like I had just told her I was walking off a cliff. "You can't leave," she kept saying. "You can't leave us. Something will happen. Stay here. Please stay here." I calmed her down. I told her it was the market, 10 miles there and back. I would be home before the sun moved. I told her she had spent a year alone, and now I was here and I wasn't going anywhere. Not really. Not permanently. She looked at me the way you look at someone you know isn't going to listen. "Come back," she said. Same words as when I left for the war. I kissed her. I left. The market at the village center was already busy by the time I got there. I was surprised by how people looked at me. This strange mix of recognition and something else. Something uncomfortable. Like they were glad to see me and also didn't know what to say. The fruit stand owner was a man I had known my whole life. When he saw me walking toward him, his face did something complicated. He asked me how I was doing. I told him I'd never been better. Home from the war, wife and son healthy, life was perfect. He stared at me. "Your wife," he said slowly. "She's home." Like it was a question. I laughed. I told him of course she was home. Where else would she be? He looked down at the fruit. He said he must have been confused. He said he'd heard something different. He changed the subject and sold me my food, and I walked home thinking about what a strange thing that was to say. I heard something different. What had he heard? I was thinking about it when I got back. Nak was on the balcony, feeding the baby, staring out at the water again. That same stillness. I called to her, and she turned and smiled, and the stillness broke, and she was my wife again. But I couldn't stop thinking. Over the next few days, the feeling built up slow, like water rising. Nothing dramatic, just small moments that I couldn't logic away fast enough. A woman from the village came to the edge of our property, stayed at the tree line, wouldn't come closer, and stared at the house for a long time before she left. Nak saw her and said nothing. At night, the dogs in the distance would go quiet all at once. All of them. Like something had passed. Our son never looked at me. Babies look at things. They're curious. He never once turned his eyes toward me. And Nak was perfect, attentive, warm, always there. Never tired, never hungry, never anywhere except exactly where I was. I told myself it was love. Then the monk came. He found me in the forest behind the house chopping firewood, walked straight toward me through the trees in his long robe, not calling out, not waving, just walking directly at me like he had somewhere to be and I was it. He looked around the forest first, like he was checking we were alone. Then he leaned close and he told me the truth. Or what he said was the truth. He told me Nak had been going into the village, terrorizing people, that everyone knew something was wrong with her, that I was the only one who hadn't seen it. He told me to leave her, leave the house, don't look back. I want to be honest with you about what I felt in that moment. I felt angry, because everything he was describing was impossible. Nak was home. She was with me every hour of every day. When had she been terrorizing anyone? And these rumors she had warned me about, here they were. A man coming to her husband in the woods saying, "Leave her. Something is wrong with her." I told him to stay away from my family. He looked at me with something I didn't understand then. Pity. But I couldn't sleep that night. And the next morning I got up before dawn and slipped out while Nak and the baby were still. I went back to the market. I needed to find the fruit stand owner. I needed to know what he knew. His stand was empty. I don't know why that hit me so hard. It was early. Stands open late sometimes. But something in me just dropped. I walked to his house, knocked. Nothing. Knocked again. Pressed my ear to the door. Silence. I tried the handle. The door swung open. The smell hit me first. I won't describe what I found inside that house. I'll just say this. The fruit stand owner, my neighbor, the man who had looked at me with that complicated expression and said, "I heard something different." He was dead. Had been for some time. I ran. And I didn't stop, and I didn't go toward the village center like I should have. I went toward home. I don't know why. I think some part of me just needed to see her, needed her to explain, needed the warmth of her, the realness of her, to push back against what I had just seen. I slowed down when the house came into view. She was on the balcony, standing still, holding our son. She hadn't seen me yet. I watched her reach up for a lime from the tree that hung over the railing, the tree we had planted together the year we got married. She grabbed the fruit, and then it slipped from her fingers and fell, between the floorboards, through the slats, down to the ground 7 feet below. I watched her look at it, and then I watched her arm go after it. It went down through the slats. It kept going. It stretched, 7 feet of arm, bones cracking and popping in a way that sounded like green wood splitting, down and down until her hand touched the ground and her fingers closed around the lime. And then it came back up, crackling, wet, wrong. She had her lime, and then she turned and looked at me. I don't remember deciding to run. I was just running. I ran to the Buddhist temple in the village center. The monk, the one who had warned me I needed to find him. I needed someone to tell me what I had just seen was not real. He let me in. They hid me. They gave me water and sat with me while I shook. And when I could breathe again, the monk came and sat across from me, and he told me the truth that everyone in Phra Khanong had known for months. Nak had died in childbirth. Our son had died with her. They had both been in the ground since the week after I left for the war. The whole village had mourned them. And then I had come home, rowing my boat up the canal, calling out her name. And she had been waiting on that balcony. Still waiting, because she had promised to wait. I want to tell you that I didn't believe him. I want to tell you that I fought it, that I demanded proof, that I was not a man who had spent 4 days eating meals cooked by a corpse and sleeping beside a ghost and telling himself everything was fine. But I think I had known. I think on some level I had always known. The cold skin, the stillness, the way she never ate, never slept, never let me out of her sight. The way she panicked when I left, like she knew the spell would break. She loved me so much she built a whole life out of nothing, just to give me 1 more week of it. How do you be angry at that? The monks performed a ritual to subdue her spirit. It required exhuming her body. It required her to know it was over. I gave them permission. I don't talk about what happened next. What I'll tell you is this. There is a shrine in Phra Khanong today, in what is now Bangkok, on Soi Sukhumvit 77, beside the temple of Wat Mahabut. People bring her flowers, incense, offerings. Young men facing military conscription come to ask for her protection, which I find darkly funny, given everything. She is not remembered as a monster. She is remembered as a woman who loved her husband so much that death couldn't stop her from coming home. I used to think the horror of this story was the arm, the stretch, the wrongness of it. I don't think that anymore. The horror is the 4 days before. The horror is that I was happy. But here's what I need you to understand before I go. The fruit stand owner is still dead. So is the woman who came to the tree line and stared. So are 2 others whose names I won't say here. Nak didn't kill them because she was evil. She killed them because they were going to take me away from her. Because every person who tried to tell me the truth was a threat to the only thing she had left. Her love wasn't the danger. Her love was the whole thing. There's one more detail I haven't told you. The monk who warned me in the forest, the one I told to stay away from my family, I found out later that she had visited him the night before, stood outside the temple in the dark for 3 hours. He told me she just stood there, and he said that while she stood there, every candle inside the temple went out, one by one. He said he could hear her breathing through the walls. He said it didn't sound like someone who was angry. It sounded like someone who was afraid. Mae Nak Phra Khanong. Her shrine still stands in Bangkok. The forehead bone carved from her skull during the exorcism ritual became one of the most sought-after amulets in Thai history. Some say it was eventually bound into the waistband of a revered monk. Others say it passed into the possession of the Thai royal family. Nobody knows where it is today, which means nobody knows where she is.